KJ, a global channel. The Political System and Me. Series 4, The Political System Across Every Sector of Society. Episode 47, Children and Family Policy, Safety Nets, Protection, and Nutrition. The political system enters your life long before you can speak. It enters as food or hunger, warmth or cold, safety or fear, school or exclusion, healing or untreated sickness, family stability or collapse. A child does not choose the system. A child is born into it. That is why children are the most honest mirror of governance. Adults may be deceived by ideology. Children cannot be protected by slogans. When a political system fails, children often carry the scars longest. And when children carry scars, the future carries scars. This is where our question begins. Does the political system give every child a fair chance to survive, grow, learn, belong, and become secure? Family policy is not a soft topic. It is national security in its deepest form. Because the first institution a child experiences is the family. And the political system decides whether families are supported, protected, or abandoned. The system reveal is child protection and social safety nets. The family is the first school of citizenship. Childhood shapes the nation that follows. In plain language, the hidden mechanism is child protection and social safety nets. Safety nets decide whether hardship remains temporary or becomes permanent damage. Nutrition in the first 1,000 days is among the most political facts in a child's life. Before a child meets the Constitution, a child meets a home. Before a child understands rights, a child experiences care, neglect, security, fear, hunger, touch, language, and trust. Childhood shapes the citizen who follows. Birth registration is the first public recognition of a child's existence. It supports identity, services, proof of age, nationality, school access, inheritance, and protection from disappearance or exploitation. Without identity, a child becomes easier to exclude, traffic, exploit, recruit, or deny services. Registration must therefore be universal, affordable, accessible, timely, and protected from discrimination. No child should lose legal identity because of poverty, displacement, ethnicity, disability, parental status, distance, conflict, or administrative delay. Nutrition is the second foundation. The first 1,000 days, from pregnancy through early childhood, shape brain development, immunity, growth, learning, and long-term health. Malnutrition reflects failures in food, income, health, water, sanitation, maternal care, education, and public finance. A child may survive hunger, yet carry stunting, weak immunity, delayed learning, and reduced future opportunity for life. Nutrition policy must support pregnant women, breastfeeding, safe complementary feeding, micronutrients, school meals, food security, clean water, and reliable public information. Safety nets are not handouts. They are investments in national stability. Cash transfers, food support, school meals, disability and maternity benefits, housing assistance, and emergency relief can prevent irreversible harm. A dignified safety net needs clear eligibility, predictable payments, secure records, complaint routes, and freedom from political favoritism. Targeting may be necessary where resources are limited, but bad targeting can exclude families in greatest need or create stigma, corruption, and manipulation. Systems should therefore use transparent criteria, regular review, appeals, and evidence about who is being missed. Health systems are political. Survival depends on maternal care, safe birth, vaccination, primary care, nutrition screening, clean water, sanitation, and timely treatment. Preventable death is both tragedy and evidence that responsibility failed. Education is another protection. Schools provide learning, routine, meals, social connection, detection of abuse, and a path toward independence. They must also be safe, inclusive, staffed, and free from discrimination, violence, exploitation, and indoctrination. Children with disabilities require accessible buildings, trained staff, appropriate materials, and equal expectations for learning and dignity. Safeguarding is the system that prevents and responds to abuse, neglect, exploitation, trafficking, child labor, forced marriage, recruitment into armed activity, and harmful institutional treatment. Children require special protection because they cannot defend themselves with equal power. Safeguarding needs clear duties, trained professionals, safe reporting, assessment, confidentiality, records, referral, monitoring, and lawful intervention. The child's best interests must guide decisions, but never become a vague excuse for arbitrary power. Decision makers must consider safety, family relationships, health, education, identity, the child's views, long-term development, and the least harmful lawful option. Children should be heard according to age and maturity. Listening to a child does not mean placing adult burdens on the child. It means respecting the child as a person with experience, fear, preference, and dignity. Family support should begin before crisis through childcare, disability services, maternal health, housing, income protection, counseling, and community care. Poverty alone is not parental failure, and removal for lack of food, housing, or services can punish families for failures of public policy. Where separation is necessary for safety, it must follow evidence, due process, review, and a plan for stable care. Institutional care should not become the default. Family-based and community-based care usually offer stronger continuity, identity, and belonging when properly supported and monitored. Child-sensitive justice must adapt procedures for age, vulnerability, language disability, and trauma. Interviews should be limited and professional, representation available, detention a last resort, and rehabilitation central. Protection must also extend to children in migration, displacement, conflict, detention, street situations, informal work, and online environments. Digital systems can improve services, but children's data must be protected from misuse, exposure, surveillance, exploitation, and permanent stigma. The family is the first school of citizenship. Children learn trust through kept promises, fairness through consistent rules, voice through being heard, and responsibility through shared care. A political system that supports families strengthens the habits democracy needs. Federal democracy adds a crucial test. A child in one region must not thrive while a child in another is denied nutrition, identity, safety, or school because of geography or politics. Federalism must not become different rights. A child is not merely a regional citizen. A child is a national inheritance. Local delivery matters because families live in communities. National standards matter because every child deserves a common floor of dignity. To understand children and family policy, follow the rights chain. Right or legitimate interest, law or constitutional rule, responsible institution, complaint or review, hearing and evidence, remedy, enforcement. Right or legitimate interest asks what the child or family is entitled to claim. Identity, nutrition, health, education, safety, family care, participation, privacy, or protection from exploitation. Law or constitutional rule asks where the right, duty, standard, and prohibition are defined. Responsible institution asks which registry, school, clinic, welfare office, court, police unit, local authority, ministry, or safeguarding body must act. Complaint or review asks where a child, parent, caregiver, teacher, health worker, or advocate can report failures safely. Hearing and evidence ask what records exist, who listens, whether the child is heard appropriately, and whether professional assessment is available. Remedy asks what can repair the harm. Registration, food, treatment, school access, protection, family support, compensation, placement review, or policy correction. Enforcement asks who makes the remedy real and what happens if the responsible institution refuses. A broken outcome may begin far upstream. The visible harm may be hunger, abuse, school exclusion, missing identity, untreated illness, exploitation, or family collapse. But the deeper failure may be an unjust rule, an unfunded service, missing records, weak referral, captured oversight, unsafe complaint routes, or a remedy that exists only on paper. The chain prevents us from reducing child harm to one parent, one teacher, or one official. It identifies where law, capacity, evidence, safeguarding, oversight, remedy, or enforcement stopped working. When citizens and professionals locate that break, criticism becomes more accurate and reform becomes more practical. For this episode, the principal mechanism is child protection and social safety nets. The production graphic must make every link readable on a phone screen and label country-specific or proposed arrangements honestly. Under dictatorship, children and family policy follow concentrated command. Information is restricted, services may reward loyalty, abuse can be hidden, and challenge may carry risk. In a fragile democracy, formal rights may coexist with patronage, corruption, weak services, inaccessible registration, underfunded nutrition, untrained safeguarding staff, and poor enforcement. In a functioning federal democracy, authority is distributed, common rights remain enforceable, and courts, legislatures, local governments, schools, health systems, welfare bodies, media, and civil society can test decisions affecting children. Comparison is a method of judgment, not a slogan or ranking exercise. The viewer should compare who decides, how authority was obtained, whether records are public, whether families and children participate safely, and whether independent monitoring and complaint routes exist in practice. The democratic design must survive weak leaders, political disagreement, and changes of government. The minimum guardrails are 1. Birth registration and equal legal identity. Every child should be registered without discrimination, excessive cost, political interference, or avoidable delay. 2. Nutrition, health, education, and social protection. Essential services and safety nets should be accessible, funded, evidence-based, and capable of reaching children before harm becomes permanent. 3. Safeguarding and best interests procedures. Institutions need clear duties, trained personnel, secure records, safe referral, lawful intervention, and review of decisions affecting children. 4. Family support and child-sensitive justice. Policy should strengthen families before crisis and ensure that courts, police, welfare systems, and services treat children with dignity, protection, and due process. 5. Independent monitoring and complaint routes. Children, families, professionals, and advocates need confidential channels, independent review, reliable data, and enforceable correction. These safeguards work as a system. Registration without services leaves identity empty. Services without safeguarding can expose children. Safeguarding without family support can punish poverty. Complaints without confidentiality can increase danger. And remedy without enforcement does not repair harm. Global relevance. Across political labels, ask who is registered, who receives nutrition and care, who carries risk, what records exist, and whether correction is real. Myanmar relevance. Use ordinary lived experience only where it clarifies the mechanism. Do not treat one authority, service system, organization, community, armed actor, or proposed arrangement as the whole country. Separate existing institutions from interim systems, local practice, humanitarian arrangements, political commitments, and aspirational federal designs. Here is the civic practice for this episode. See and ask. Ask whether children near you are protected from violence, exploitation, hunger, exclusion, and preventable illness, and by what institution. Verify. Examine child rights law, birth registration, nutrition and education data, safeguarding rules, service access, complaint pathways, and monitoring reports. ACT. Build an anonymized child protection responsibility map. Trace registration, nutrition, health, education, safeguarding, social protection, complaint, review, and remedy. Use only qualified safeguarding channels and do not collect identifying information unnecessarily. Review. Record whether you can name the responsible institution, the evidence, the safeguard or remedy, and one safe next step. The measure of success is not visibility. It is whether you can identify evidence, responsibility, a credible safeguard, and the safest practical action. A democracy that cannot protect childhood cannot protect freedom. Freedom is not inherited automatically. Freedom must be grown inside safe homes, nourished bodies, protected schools, and stable communities. Supported families build resilience. Nourished children build capability. Real protection reduces trauma and makes democracy easier to sustain. The deeper question is not only whether adults have rights. It is whether children have a chance. If children do not have a chance, the nation does not have a future. The principle to carry forward is this. The family is the first school of citizenship. Childhood shapes the nation that follows. Ask yourself, what part of child and family protection have I treated as normal even though it should be visible, answerable, and correctable? Good intentions depend on character. Good protection depends on institutions. Continue the playlist, use the worksheet, and keep the practice safe, truthful, and disciplined. The system shapes our lives. Our participation shapes the system. Subscribe, learn, participate, shape the future. KJ, knowledge justifies authority.